It's never easy seeing a great character go, especially when their death was totally unnecessary. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 movies that killed off the wrong character. For this list, we'll be looking at movie characters who should have lived to see the end credits, but were prematurely and unwisely given death sentences. Needless to say, but spoilers.
You will lose.
Number 10, Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, Avengers Endgame. To claim the Soul Stone on Vormir, either Natasha or Clint Barton must make the ultimate sacrifice.
In order to take the stone, you must lose that which you love. An everlasting exchange. A soul for a soul.
It's a close call, but Natasha loses her life while Clint loses his best friend. While definitely an emotional highlight, why didn't Clint meet his end instead? As Ronin, Clint went down a dark path that should have been much harder to come back from. Giving up his life to save his family would have been a tragic yet inspiring exit, leaving the door open for somebody else to assume the Hawkeye mantle. Natasha's death doesn't really mesh with her character arc, especially since she's becoming the peanut butter who held the sandwich together. Since heroes rarely stay dead in the MCU though, Natasha just might save another day.
That's not my story.
Number 9. Data, Star Trek Nemesis. Nemesis is among the most forgettable Star Trek movies, which is strange since it not only capped up the Next Generation films, but also killed off a major character.
Goodbye.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Data's death is so clumsily handled, however, that we understand why fans like to ignore this entry. Saving Captain Picard, the android blows himself up along with the scimitar. We think the filmmakers were trying to pull a Wrath of Khan ending.
No! You'll flood the whole compartment. He'll die.
He's dead already.
It's too late.
Unlike Spock's sacrifice, though, Data's death has little buildup and thus comes off as unearned. Making the moment even more gimmicky and disingenuous, it turns out Data uploaded his memories to B4, a plot that ultimately goes nowhere. At least Data's demise paved the way for some interesting ideas explored in Picard.
I don't want the game to end.
Number 8. Ellen Ripley, Dwayne Hicks, and Rebecca Newt Jorden, Alien 3.
Wait! One of them's still alive!
Coming off Aliens, Aliens 3 was given an opportunity to elaborate on so many fascinating character dynamics. We could see Newt grow up with Ripley serving as her adoptive mother. It also might have been intriguing to see Hicks recover from his injuries and maybe even step up as Newt's father figure.
See you, Hicks.
Dwayne. It's Dwayne.
Ellen.
Don't be gone long, Ellen.
But nope. Instead, Alien 3 soullessly kicks things off with Newt and Hicks dying in agonizing ways, undermining the previous film's happy ending. Without Newt or Hicks, Ripley has less to fight for throughout this third chapter, lowering the stakes. When Ripley eventually sacrifices herself, it feels less like a blaze of glory and more like she's finally being put out of her misery. The studio couldn't even let Ripley rest in peace, however.
How was our number 8 today?
Appears to be in good health.
How good?
Excellent. As in completely off our projected charts.
Number 7. Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, X-Men: The Last Stand. Despite being a major part of the comics, Cyclops' roles seem to be downsized with each passing X-Men installment. He went from being a team leader in the first movie to disappearing for a good portion of the second movie to dying partway through the third. Adding insult to injury, Scott dies off-screen at the hands of a newly revived Jean Grey. Since Scott and Jean's relationship was so integral to the Dark Phoenix saga, we knew from the get-go that the film wasn't going to do this story arc justice. Perhaps Scott's death could have worked if it had been saved for the climax. The execution here is so abrupt and meaningless that Days of Future Past hit the redo switch.
Whoa. Easy, pal.
Some things never change. Good to see you, Scott.
Number 6. Hoban Washburne, Serenity. Joss Whedon isn't afraid to axe off his characters, which isn't always for the best. A Firefly fan favorite, Wash was a primary source of comedic relief.
I'm a leaf on the wind.
Serenity features one of his most heroic moments, but faster than you can say leaf on the wind, Wash goes out like a candle in the wind. Getting impaled by a harpoon from a Reaver ship, Wash's death is brutal, sudden, and comes out of nowhere.
Baby, please. You gotta move, baby. Come on. Come on. Go out.
We guess that's what Whedon was going for, but if he wanted a crew member to die here, why not Simon? After all, River is this story's driving force, so wouldn't it have made dramatic sense if the person closest to her died?
I can't. River? River, I'm sorry.
Simon's death would have been even more poetic, while Wash's death is just random. Number 5. Apollo Creed, Rocky IV. Love it or hate it, most would agree that Rocky IV is where the franchise started to get ultra goofy. With a Soviet superhuman and an 80s robot, this installment lost the grounded tone of its predecessors. This makes it all the more jarring when the filmmakers shoehorn in a serious death scene. Going up against Ivan Drago, an aging Apollo Creed dies in the ring, leaving Rocky to avenge him.
If he dies, he dies.
Punching out Apollo for good is one thing, but doing so in such a hokey film is completely out of place. It would have been more appropriate if Drago seriously wounded Apollo, ending his fighting days. In retrospect, we wish Apollo's death had been saved for another time and place, like the beginning of Creed.
When your father died, I was angry for so long. I hurt myself, pushed family away.
I don't have no father.
What did you say?
Number 4. John Connor, Terminator Dark Fate. The Terminator franchise has been declining ever since Sarah Connor unceremoniously died off-screen in the third movie.
Sarah Connor was cremated in Mexico. Her friends scattered her ashes in the sea. They stored these weapons in accordance with her will.
What happened to her?
Leukemia.
Dark Fate wiped the slate clean with a new timeline, bringing back Linda Hamilton, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and even Edward Furlong as John Connor. To the disappointment of many, Furlong's role was reduced to a de-aged, motion-captured cameo, and John gets terminated in the first scene. Did we learn nothing from Alien 3? It'd be one thing if Dark Fate took the series in a new direction, but John is simply switched out with another savior. While Daenerys isn't a bad replacement, we don't have a strong connection to her, and quite frankly, we wanted to see Furlong as an adult John.
What's next? 3,000 people out there. What happens if I tell them they're just keeping a spot warm for some machine?
Now we likely never will. Number 3. Stephen Hiller, Independence Day Resurgence. Independence Day wasn't the most character-driven movie, but it was impossible to not like Stephen Hiller.
Welcome to Earth.
The role solidified Will Smith's status as a movie star, and we can't imagine the film without him. When Smith said no to the long-delayed sequel, the studio should have pulled the plug entirely. Rather than kill the project, the filmmakers decided to just kill Hiller off.
Good job.
Thank you.
Well done, Captain.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Even though Smith's character evaded certain death around every corner in the first film, it's revealed that he died while testing an alien hybrid aircraft. The most we see of Hiller is a painting, which had all of us collectively shouting, "Lame." Smith shared a similar sentiment, saying, "It was terrible when I found out my character died."
One moment.
We're ready for you, sir.
Number 2. Neo and Trinity, The Matrix Revolutions. You know how some video games offer a choice that seems important but ultimately leads to only one road? That's the best way to describe Trinity's fate.
There are 2 doors. The door to your right leads to the source and the salvation of Zion. The door to your left leads back to the Matrix, to her, and to the end of your species. As you adequately put, the problem is choice.
In The Matrix Reloaded, Neo decides to save Trinity and potentially doom Zion in due course. This doesn't matter, as humanity still prevails and Trinity dies in the next film. Not in a cool fight, but by getting impaled during a crash.
I can't go with you, Neo. I've gone as far as I can.
What? The only reason Trinity seems to die is so that Neo can have a one-on-one final fight with Smith, which doesn't even make sense since the countless clones could jump in at any time. As for Neo, he's given a predictably Christ-like exit, and we can only hope that all of this will be retconned in Matrix 4.
No, it's not fair.
Before we unveil our top pick, here's a few honorable mentions that'll have you saying, "Why?" Mako Mori in Pacific Rim Uprising. The fans helped make the sequel happen, so why kill off a fan favorite? Joe Brody in Godzilla. How did Matthew Broderick survive his Godzilla movie, while Bryan Cranston dies early on? Weak.
Go home to your family. Keep them safe. Okay. Whatever it takes. Whatever.
Hey, stay with me.
Primrose Everdeen in The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. Hot take. Katniss should have died and Prim should have stepped up in her place, showing that anyone can be the Mockingjay.
Primrose! Prim!
Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Don't finish him just yet.
You hid behind him your entire pathetic life.
No, got it!
Merlin and Kingsman The Golden Circle. Really? A landmine? This feels forced.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Supreme Leader Snoke. Star Wars Episode 8. The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi remains polarizing, due in part to Luke Skywalker's vanishing act. Even the film's most die-hard defenders, however, generally agree that Snoke could have been so much more. Rather than deliver on the mystery established in The Force Awakens, this sequel reveals nothing new about Snoke and opts to simply have him unceremoniously cut in half.
Kills his true enemy.
Huh? Why were we intimidated by this guy? Granted, it's learned in Rise of the Skywalker that Snoke was Palpatine's puppet. If that was really the plan from the start, though, why not bring in Palpatine sooner? Why squander time on Snoke and get audiences excited about a villain who goes absolutely nowhere?
Snoke trained you well.
I killed Snoke. I'll kill you.
My boy. I made Snoke.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.